Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Lumberjack Landlord, excited to be here with you this morning on this beautiful Sunday morning. At least it's beautiful where I am. Not just because I'm there either, or because my lovely wife of 17 years today. This is an anniversary show, but not an anniversary show for the channel Lumberjack Landlord. An anniversary show because today is my anniversary. So super excited to be here with you guys today. Amazing things happening in today's market. Kind of shocking some of the things that I'm seeing. As you guys know, so I'm the Lumberjack Landlord. I have 52 buildings. We do anywhere from small, multifamily all the way up to, larger 8, 10, 12 unit stuff. But our big claim to fame is we do rehab. So we go through buildings, all the way to gut or what we call lipstick upgrades or what we call the lumberjack package. But we've got a lot of things that we do in our market and a lot of things that we do to our real estate. So because we're still in the market, because we're still actively buying, our most recent deal was just 4 weeks ago. So we are there with you guys. We are there in the trenches. We are there doing the work, but making moves. We got to be making moves. And sometimes the move is not actually buying the next asset. So one of the things I'm going to talk to you guys about today is what I'm hearing from banks. This week was a big bank week. I talked to a lot of bankers this week. That was kind of the goal. The goal was to have a minimum of 7 conversations. I did. And as you guys know, I don't pride myself on, dealing with the front line people. I'm dealing with the big dogs. I'm dealing with senior lenders. Most of you who don't even know who that is. If you watch my channel, you know what a senior lender is. If you don't watch my channel, you don't. But essentially, a senior lender is the person who makes the rate decisions and the deal decisions, often a large part of the committee that makes deal decisions in a given bank. I've been teaching you guys for a long, long time. You guys got to be getting friendly with your local banks because you're going to need those relationships when you get what I like to call a tweener, right? A tweener deal is one of those ones where it's like, ugh, I'd really like to do this deal, but there's this, that, or the other hair on the ball on this one, or there might be this issue with the deal, or that issue with the deal, or that issue with you, or that issue with the seller. It could be any of those things. Good to see you, D. I'll cover later how Dion saved my life. Legit. But these are the tweener deals, right? And you're going to need relationships for those. You're not going to be able to get away with calling a broker. I can tell you what happened with brokers back in 07 and 08. Here's what happened with brokers. Hey, yeah, I got a deal I want to do. Okay, send over all the paperwork. Okay, we can do 10.25%. What? 10.25. This is no 708. 10.25. Excuse me. They kind of shut down from lending. They weren't telling you that they weren't going to do your deal. They were telling you a ridiculous rate because at that rate, they knew 95 to 99% chance you're going to say no. And if you say yes, they're going to print money off your deal. That's how it went. So all the conversations that I had with all the different senior lenders and VPs of banks, really it's consistent. We want to see our local banks thrive. It is important that we continue to make deposits there. So you know me, I'm a big guy on my word. I tell banks when I do the deal with them that I'm going to bring my deposits with those deals. They put them in the document. They usually put them in the loan servicing letter or documents when you have a closing. But a lot of people don't live up to that. A lot of people don't follow through. A lot of people don't do, quite frankly, the things that they should be doing. And so as I continue to work with these banks, it's in our best interest to help these banks grow because every single dollar you deposit is $9 that they can then lend out. You got me right. That's called fractional banking. $1 in, they can lend out $9. Well, if I want to do deals, I can show them, look at all of the deposits that I continue to make into your bank. I want some of that capital back. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take out a loan with you, but I'm giving you all these deposits. So understanding how to talk to these banks, understanding how to get to their needs. Now, are you going to get to these needs by talking to some frontline person? No. You need to get pushed down to the frontline person, talking to senior lenders, talking to VPs and EVPs and SVPs. EVP, Executive Vice President. SVP, Senior Vice President. Depending on what bank you're at, one can mean better than the other. But a regular VP, not that impressive. Honestly, not that impressive. Usually when you're there at any bank for a few years, you become a VP. So not hugely awesome if you're a VP at a bank. It's different if you're a VP in a software company because they don't usually have a whole lot of those. Even when you're huge, you don't have a whole lot of those. But one of the things, again, as we sit here and talk about banking, I am seeing pressure in the banking sector. I am seeing it. After all those conversations, we are seeing shifts in people's strategies. Now, there's nothing that's going to really impact, largely speaking, the group of people that are on here today. The things that I'm seeing the biggest slowdown in are participation deals. A participation deal is when one bank says, hey, we've got a borrower that needs $20 million. And the bank says, we don't want to give $20 million out on this one project, so we're going to put it out for participation. These banks have these relationships. They're like this. I don't want to say they're frenemies, but they kind of are frenemies because they both want to grow. They both want to be the leader in the market. They both want to be the one that gets gone to. And again, if you're leading that participation, what's the value in leading the participation? The value is that you're the one that gets the deposits with that much lower of a risk. If banks are looking for deposits and you're participating in a deal, but let's say it's a $20 million deal, the lead bank is taking 10 million, and then they're doing 2 5s on top of that. If you're one of those 5s, you're actually not going to get that customer's deposits. You're going to get nothing. You're going to make money on your money. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't do anything for real growth in your bank because, again, remember, as a banker, if I'm a banker, I want to see deposit because I can lend out 9x that. If I lend out $5 million, right, but I don't get any deposits in, what does that mean? That means that I just put out money on the street to make money, but not make me 9x. That's the power of banking, is you want to make that 9x. So the key to this is find businesses, find banks that are launching in your area or nearabouts, town over, a couple towns over, but that want to really focus in your area. That's the first thing because they're trying to grow a business. Their charter is going to be in the community, of the community, and for the community. You guys have heard me say it 1,000 times. It's never been more true than it is right now. I got some sticky deals done with a bank. And when I say sticky, completely on the up and up, but just there's hair on them. There were situations, there were circumstances with the deal. There were some legal issues. And so a bank has to take a shot on not only you, but a shot on the deal as well. So if they don't know you as an operator, this is why relationship matters. If they don't know you as an operator, likely you're not going to get past anybody. They're just going to say, yeah, not a deal for us. That's not where you want to be. When we're talking about banking, what we're really trying to make sure is happening is supporting of the local banks, because a lot of people say, oh, the big banks are too big to fail. So I'm going to take my deposits out of there and I'm going to put them in the big bank. Well, what does that do? That puts stress on the little bank because the little bank can lend out that much less. And that's how the bank grows. And that's how the bank makes money. The issue is that the big banks, they make it then very difficult to borrow, and certainly difficult to borrow for investors, unless you're a massive, massive investor. But largely speaking, they make it difficult. If you're worth less than, let's say, 10 million bucks, they make it pretty difficult to borrow from. So what's interesting about that whole entire process is that as this market continues to shift and go the way that it's going, what you'll find is the smaller banks aren't going to do those participation loans. That's the first thing off the docket, right? Because they say those participation loans are $5 million and I'm getting paid money, my margin. I'm borrowing it at 4.5 and I'm putting it out on the street at 7. So I'm going to participate in that. So I've got my 2.5, my 250 basis points of spread, and the other bank is largely servicing the deal. Again, the challenge becomes is that I didn't get the real benefit of that $5 million participation. I'd rather spread that risk across a bunch of people, but more importantly, get their deposits in, help your banks grow. When you get that relationship with a bank and it's a good relationship and you see things working well for you, what do? Guess what? I share that name. I tell people, this has been my experience. It's been awesome. I want other people there doing deals with my bank. Why? Because I want my bank to grow. I want my bank to be healthy. I want my bank to continue to do deals. I want my bank to continue to have more deposits coming in. I want to continue to get them that 9x power of growth, right? The banks are our partners in these deals. People like to say, oh, you don't own the real estate, the bank does. Okay, fine. The bank doesn't actually own the loan either, dummy. Fannie Freddie usually own the loan. So in most of those cases, the bank doesn't own the loan either. They're just servicing it. So how about that? Stick that in your pipe. So as you look at how the banking system is put together, it makes sense for us to stay local, makes sense for us to work with our local banks. It makes sense for us to promote our local banks. It makes sense for us to have those conversations, ask questions, understand what they're trying to accomplish. When I talk to VPs, when I talk to EVPs, I ask them, what's the goal? How can I help you? I know that you want my business, but how can I help you? What is the type of business that you're looking for? And then what's the follow-up question? Why? Why is that the business you're looking for? Right? So I didn't just guess how the banks worked. I didn't just, read a bunch of documents. I had conversations. With banks. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Why? Yeah, call me a 2.5-year-old, whatever. Why? But I got the answers that I needed. So now I knew how to grow my business. I knew the kind of business that I was doing was in alignment with my bank. And so in 34 attempts, I've only gotten one no. I only got one no. Now, all due respect to them, I understand that they said no, but guess what? I wasn't going to not do the deal. I still went somewhere else and did the deal because that's what makes the most sense. So as you continue to watch what your bank is doing, support your local banks. Make sure that you're engaged with your local banks, having those conversations, and make sure that you're not just working with some front person who's like a broker, but not. You don't want to deal with some loan servicer. You do not. You need to be having conversations at the right level. This is a conversation, multifamily strategy, Cody and Christian, they are elite at seller financing and partnering and selling equity. They are elite at that. That is what they're amazing at. I'm elite with banks. And so when we had that conversation, they taught me about, hey, here's how to pretty well structure a seller finance deal with equity. And I was able to show them, hey, this is how you deal with the banks. And these are the two people that you're talking to. And now they have more bank debt than they've ever had. I'm so happy for them. The reason I like bank debt is because the banks are largely vested in your interest to help you succeed. They do not want the asset back. They do not. They want all the money in the world for servicing it. That's it. So that's why we hang around with other skilled investors, with Dion, with Mike, with Zub, with Ray Glimpf, who I have an opportunity with in the coming weeks, with Coach Carson, who I've done a couple of collabs with, and we'll do more collabs. We've actually got a video coming out on my channel with Coach Craig. So this is really what you need to do. You need to be spending time with your local banks because they are in the community, of the community, and for the community. What happens when a local bank goes away? What happens? I got news for you. The lending gets more difficult because the pie doesn't get bigger. And so that means that if you have 5 banks that you can go to now, and what's really cool is 3 out of the 5 local banks I have a relationship with. And when I say local, I mean truly local banks, less than 7 locations. Less than 7 locations, I've got actually 4 out of the 5. I've got relationships with 4 out of the 5. And the only reason I don't have 5 out of 5 is because number 5, I don't have a relationship with anymore. I used to. They just got too difficult to work with. They got too, it's not really something that fits what we're doing. Yeah, it's not really something that fits what we're doing. And it's like, okay, no problem. I'm not going to twist your arm. I'm trying to give you money. If this doesn't work, then that doesn't work. So the whole purpose of the first 15 minutes today, I always do a 15-minute open. The first purpose of the 15 minutes today is be talking to your local banks. Have conversations with them. You don't want them to go away. You do not. You want another big, huge bailout if something goes wrong? Yeah, be at Bank of America. FDIC still covers up to $250,000. If you're lucky enough to be in a Massachusetts bank, you have FDIC plus DIF. And if you're with a credit union, you also have their version of FDIC. They call it something different because it's specific for credit unions, but they have the same. So, kind of like, Jim Cramer does. And I know that everybody likes to rag on Jim. He's richer than you'll ever be. How did he get there? He's smarter than you'll ever will be in stocks. So people like to rag on the guy, but the fact is he's worth, if he only traded on his own behalf, he'd be worth $1 billion at this point. But people like to rag on him. But the fact of the matter is that he's really, truly right about the fact of having conversations. He has conversations with all these CEOs. Imagine being in that position where you're having conversations with executive level people in these little banks. Are they willing to take your call? You're going to have to fight to get the time. Of course you are. But come up with your story. What is your story? What is your story? When I didn't have any units, my story was, yes, I'm a local investor. I buy small multifamily properties, and I can do rehab from gut to studs all the way through a lipstick package where we're just adding some features and functions. And I've got 3 buildings. I've got 5 buildings. I made that call. I started calling presidents of banks. Why? Because I've got balls. And because they put their pants on one leg at a time, or slacks. But I made those calls, and then they would call me back because they don't want the reputation of not calling people back. They'd call me back and they would go, yeah, sure. How can I help you? And I would tell them my story. That way they were aware of me. Do you think I want to leave it to some doofus on the front lines? And not everybody on the front lines is doofus, but plenty of them are. Plenty of them, that's their Everest. They're never going to get higher in the company. And then you think I want, Betty Boop telling my story? Is she even going to get to the president of the bank? No. I want to tell my story to the president of the bank. And then I want him to push me down to his VP or his senior VP or his senior lender. But he knows my name. And then the first deal I bring across their desk, guess what I can say? That person that I got pushed down to knows that the president of the bank pushed me down to them. Number 2 is when you're doing a deal like that, when you bring it, be prepared. Don't be a mess. That's one of the things we covered in my boot camp last night. We spent 2 hours with a commercial banker, and they told us everything. Here's how you here's how you have your best chance of getting approved. Here's how to present it. Here's the conversations you should be having. Guys, this is the value that the boot camp has. It's worth its weight it's worth its money 10x. It really is. There's no program out there that gets you in with the people that make the decisions so you know exactly how to navigate the opportunity. It's second to none. It's second to none. You can do seller finance opportunities with wealthy individuals that have owned property for 20 years. But when you get into a bank and you have a relationship on a banking level, even when times are tough, they're still going to lend me money on my deals. I know that they've said no to plenty of other deals, but I know that they've said yes to all of mine but one. And the next bank, they've said yes to all of mine. They've even asked me, do you have more coming? So I would encourage you guys, have these conversations with banks. Be talking to call the president of the bank. Know a little bit about their bank. They usually have some sort of a charter that they list on their webpage. We are this bank. We've been in business for this long. The CEO's been there this many years. And then you're just having conversation with them. This is hi, very nice to meet you. The reason for my call is I'm actually looking to expand my footprint with local banks. We do investing in the community, of the community, and for the community. We have a percentage of our units that go affordable housing or to veterans or disabled veterans. Bet you didn't know that they actually get credits for those. They're called CRAs. They get credit for that stuff. Yeah. You ever heard that on any other YouTube channel? Didn't think so. Why? Because I make it my job to have any part of my business. I'm all the way to the sand. I'm all the way granular. That's the way you gotta be. And that's why people show up and hang out here. Let's have some more conversation. Let's take a look at your questions. Kyle, good morning. Brett, good morning. Old guy REI. Frank, good to see you, my friend. I sent you an email. Check that out. Pallavi, good morning. Robert, Matt, great boot camp last night. Absolute gold. Thanks, Robert. I agree. I bring the players. This is somebody with 20 years experience in banking. That's who I brought to them last night. 20 years experience banking, commercial lender. Been a commercial lender for, almost 2 decades. Been an annualist. One of the things that really cracks me up about her is the degrees that she has. If I had those degrees, I'd be obnoxious. I mean, I'm obnoxious without those degrees, but I'd be even more obnoxious. But she is legit. And again, it's relationship. I know that I can get deals done with her that I couldn't get done with anybody else because she knows that much about my business. Dion, every time you hit the like button, an angel gets its wings. That's a true story. I've actually seen it happen. BuzzTune, good morning. Happy anniversary. Thanks, BuzzTune, very much. Yep, taking the wife out. I surprised her this morning saying that I'm taking her out for a nice, expensive dinner this evening. So I'm excited for that. Both for my wife is amazing. You guys have seen her, Mrs. Lumberjack. I love my wife. She's absolutely awesome. She's a huge part of our success. And a great mom, great wife. I'm immensely blessed. Lars, good morning. Chris, good morning. Fire and Ice, good morning. Mandy W, good morning. Lars, VP in different banking departments vary greatly. Very true. Also, a UW who is a VP has a lot more power than a branch manager that is a VP. So true. That's why very, very many people get impressed with the VP title. Understand what the VP title is. What are they in charge of? The vice president of lending, very powerful person. The vice president of your local branch has basically zero authority except for to decide whether or not they're making you show their license when they give you when your cash get check. Wealth with Rentals, good morning. Lars, I listened Melody. I don't know what that is. On ORAT. Melody yesterday on ORAT yesterday. And I listened twice. She said there are a lot of DSCR loans that were originated at 10% down. I disagree with a lot. And it's not a lot. They would do CLTV loans that would end up that you were 10 out of pocket, but usually that was a CLTV, which stands for combined loan to value. Her company may have done a lot. That's possible. But I talked to a lot of guys who do DSCR and they weren't doing 10 points. It was still 20 points. And it was more expensive. It was more expensive money, but they, for one reason or other, they needed to do that deal. So I disagree. I just disagree with her. I didn't watch the video. If she has numbers to back it up, I'd love to see them. Cause mine is just experiential. And having talked to an anecdotal, talking to other investors, and kind of what their strategies were. So I saw a lot of people refi, but even when they refi, it was usually 80% LTV. If you were pulling cash, some of it was 70. Yeah. And again, I still believe, you guys have heard me, I've been true for the last year and a half. I've been saying there's going to be a correction. We're seeing it. Absolutely. We're seeing it in rents. The correction is disinflation, not deflation. So it's flat. It's not gone down, but I know I've spoken with a number of other landlords where they said, yeah, my vacancy was vacant for longer. For us, we do a rent box. That's one of the things that we teach in our course. By the way, if you guys ever get in the course and in the boot camp, we have our students work on their rent boxes. I saw a rent box last night that had 30 properties in it. It was built over a 1 month period. That person is going to get about 25% more in rent than what they would have gotten because they did a rent box. This is why I can be very confident. That's 25% more a month. That means the course paid for itself in about, 3 months. Guys, there's ways to do this that drastically increase your profitability. That's what I want to teach you. Lars, 1.5 years ago, I looked for them, and every time I thought I found one, it would turn out that they only did it on the West Coast. There were a lot of DSCRs out there for sure. Yep. Or I got the classic, our marketing department made a mistake as we haven't had that program for three years ago. Yep. Line. And that was before they saw my financials. Yeah. And again, I just didn't see a lot of 10%ers. The only 10%ers I saw were when it was a CLTV deal. I didn't see 10% flat. I saw 10% based on CLTV. Lyman Joy, welcome to the channel. I'm so happy to have you here. You don't look familiar, so welcome to the show. Thanks for being a part. Wealth with Rentals. I have my money at an online bank, but I am not using or benefiting from their mortgage. Yeah, you got to get out of it then. I feel like they should give an extra special rate for my business. They should, but you're not going to get that. Call customer service and ask for it. You're not going to get it. I would, guys, it's defeating the purpose. If you're making 5%, right, a year on 100,000 or 1.5% a year on 100,000, You place only a few $1,000s of value on a relationship? Are you crazy? Literally, are you crazy? You're putting a couple $1,000s of value. That's horrible. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. When you get bigger, as you continue to get bigger, when you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 loans, guess what? It's going to become a colossal pain in the ass to do those deals. Why? Because you're going to continue to have to show that bank, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm doing, here's all the leases, here's all the stuff I'm doing, here's all the projects. That's brutal. That's brutal. I have a bank that knows me. I have 3 banks that know me. You can call me a banking floozy if you will. I don't care. I am. But I dance with the one who brung me. I know that I'm in line. If they have an asset that starts having problems, I know I'm going to get a phone call. I can't wait for that phone call. I've been working for 22 years to get that phone call. Right? But have relationship. That's what this game is. I get off-market deals, relationship. Relationship. I get seller-based financing, relationship. I get bank financing, relationship. I get contractors to drop what they're doing and come over to my job because I need to have something done within 48 hours, relationship. Cleaners. Guess what? I had cleaners working Saturday and Sunday. How many cleaning companies work Saturday and Sunday? Not a lot. Not a lot. And it wasn't like a favor. It was a favor, but it wasn't a favor. It's not a favor that's going to cost me anything. I give them all my business. I don't beat them up on their invoices because I recognize what the value that they bring is. And I still get special pricing because of my volume, but I still recognize that they get probably 3, probably not that many a month. They get probably 15 a year, 15 to 20 cleanings a year. And those can range from a $200 to a $1,200 cleaning when people are extra special piggies. So yeah, Wealth with Rentals, get that money out, get that into a local bank, but have the conversations first. Have the conversations first. I don't know what your financial position is, Wealth with Rentals. I'm willing to bet it's probably not $250,000 sitting in the bank. So if it's not, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? You know, SVP was the 3rd largest bank in the country. You know, the other one that failed was like they've had some other failures, but they've been like not even top 100 banks. In fact, there's been a couple that haven't even been top 250 banks. That's how infinitesimally small they were. Oh my word, another bank failed. It was an infinitesimally small bank. Infinitesimally small. Mark Oshiro, good morning, financial firefighter. Richard Gamino, good morning. Flavio, good morning. Lars Nielsen, Jim Cramer is good. You just have to be smart enough to have a diversified portfolio. Yep. When adding his stock recommendations to have a sector allocation, not just tech stocks. Completely true. That's one of the things that we're thinking about doing here on this channel. You guys can let me know, load me up with a bunch of comments. If you guys have ever seen a guy named Caleb Hammer, and if you guys have ever seen Cramer with MI Diversified, I'm considering doing some sort of a show like that. But it's going to take participants. You guys are going to have some thick skin and some, huevos. Better word. To come on a show with me and have me absolutely go through your portfolio and give you a grade and a score. I want to help investors get better. Do you have what it takes to sit there on the channel and take some abuse? Because I'm probably going to abuse you. I might even make you cry. But you know what? You want unconditional love, go to your spouse. You want an honest take on your portfolio? I'm the guy to do it. I'm the guy to do it. So we're strongly contemplating that idea. So if that's something that you're interested in doing and you think would be a show that you would watch, then that's something I'm considering doing because it's a lot of work to go into that stuff. I mean, that it's going to be like an hour-long call. It's going to be like an hour-long call to go through the stuff, and kind of figure things out, But that's what I want. I'm really feeling torn and pulled into doing that because I think with the market correction coming, I think that's going to be really important for people to have an eye that looks at it, and I'll be able to look at it and say, based on my experience, because that's all it would ever be based on, I think these are the areas where you're most at risk. I think these are the areas that you need to improve immediately. These are the areas that are midterm, and these are the areas that are long-term. But, we've never lost a house to foreclosure. We've never even had a late mortgage payment in 22 years. we make money, and we make a lot of it. And when we invest in our rentals. So hopefully we can help people with that. But let me know in the comments if you think that's a good idea. BuzzTune, hey, thanks so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that, BuzzTune. Lender was high octane energy driven, so good. Watch out for her analyst she's training. Exactly right. So I not only had an amazing banker for a half a decade at the same organization, but now she trained her replacement. You know, one of the comments, I think even BuzzTune made this comment last night, you know, he said, or a couple of people, 2 or 3 people were like, hey, where can I get her on my team? I teach you how to find them, because you can't have her, because unless you're in New Hampshire or Mass. But if you're outside of those states, you can't have her. She doesn't do business there. However, I can teach you how to find them, because I've not found 1. I've not found 2. I've not found 3. I found 4 elite bankers where we can really get pretty much anything done. Also, Kramer has great insight on macroeconomics. Absolutely. I hate CRA reporting with the Fed. So yes, Matt, you are correct. Yeah, CRA reporting is awful. CRA is a credit that the bank gets for doing not charity, but somewhat charity. Usually when you buy a building and you inherit Section 8 tenants, the bank gets credit for that percentage of the building that you have units to tenants that are Section 8. They get a credit for that, meaning that they get credits towards an overall score for the end of the year that shows the banking system, the Feds, that they are doing the right thing, that they are lending out on non-for-profits, that they are active in their community doing good things. You don't think the bankers came up with the idea of doing good all by themselves? Of course not. But it's measured, and it's measured by the federal government. Now, again, federal government, I know that we all have different feelings on that, but let's look at the facts. They put out a program. Smart banks use that program. And the only way that they get to that is by working with landlords like me that actually do affordable housing, that buy buildings with Section 8 tenants. That's how they get wins. It's really important. Wealthwood Rentals. I called a local bank VP and talked to him once, and then he never responded to my next calls. I then called and found another VP at the same bank, and I kept working with, and he was super helpful. Absolutely. VPs are nice, but start at the president. That's why I like these small local banks, guys. Small local banks, a couple $1 billion under management. Guess what? Call the president. Call the president. Try and get on their record. Try and get on their schedule. Have them know your name. Have them know your name. Wealthwood Rentals, what a difference. Exactly. Steven. Hey, everyone. Hey, Steven. Good to see you. Steven, was last night's boot camp good? Laura Samaniego. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Robert Fairley. Bad reception area, so don't know if my water heater question went through, so I'll repost. Okay. Existing gas water heater needs replacement. I know you like electric, but Section 8 reduces their amount by more. Yep. Versus gas. So which one should I choose with that factor? I think if you do the math, look at what the math is that they pay. Look at what the difference is. Calculate it out over an 8-year span. Look and see what the difference is. The biggest difference is if they make you line your chimney to do it. Lining your chimney is probably going to be $1,500 to $2,000. If you get to line your chimney plus replace it, usually I find the replacement for the electric hot water heaters are $800, and this includes labor. It's about $700, $800, maybe $1,000 more to put in a gas hot water heater. If you do that and put in that gas hot water heater, what are you going to make up? $12 a month. So it's 144. Like, what's the difference, right? For heat and hot water, for hot water, it might be $12 a month. Well, that's 144. That means you're going to need to make sure that water heater over a 7-year period, that's now your break even point. But if you have to line the chimney, guess what? Now you're really screwed, because now you've got like a 15-year return, and that 8-year water heater ain't lasting 15, unless you're lucky. So that's what I would do. Hopefully that helps you. Wealthwood Rentals. Like Dion said, look for some 24/7 plumbing and electrical professionals for emergencies. I called a couple on Google that said open 24/7, but they're not. How to find those services for any emergency. The key is, like I always teach in the boot camps, find them now. Find them now when you're building your team. Know who you have, and know that you have 2. And when you get them, what I typically do is I call them up and I say, I'd like to open an account with you. And they go, but you don't have a call. Completely understand. I'd like to open up an account with you and make sure that I need to flex a little bit at that point, because I want them to pay more attention to me than they pay attention to others. So I'm a landlord with 5 units, 6 units, because you got to remember, everyone's like, oh, that's not that big of a landlord. Want to bet? Watch this. 90% of their customers are residential customers. So instantly, day one, you have more units that need their service than 90% of their customers. You want to be a top 10% customer anywhere you go? That's how you do it. So now you talk about, well, they might have 2 units or 3 units or 4 units, and I have 7. So now maybe you're at 93, 94, 95, 96% of their customers. You have more units then. So now it's 4%. Wouldn't you like to be known as a top 4% customer by them? Yup. 1,000%. Yes. I want to be known as a top 2, 3, 4, 5% customer for them. That's what I want. But you confirm that stuff in the beginning. You make sure that you're in the system that way, because a lot of those people, guess what they're going to do? They're going to look it up. They're going to look up and see, who's this customer? What are they saying? They're that important? What's going on there? They're going to look it up in the system and go, oh, I kind of got to get out to this one. Because I've had 24/7 service ones where they said it was a 24/7 service number and they never called back. Yep. Now I light them up. That company sucked. And now, you know what? The economy's not going so well. The economy's not blowing up on every deal. Guess what? Now they're struggling. Never would have guessed it. I actually told every other vendor that I worked with, I was like, they're going to be the first ones to struggle. I was right. Why? Because I'd had an experience with them from a customer service perspective. I honestly believe I'm going to buy one of their trucks when they have to start selling off assets. Yeah. I don't like the owner. The owner's a jerk. And he's not a jerk because he said one thing and I got offended. He's a jerk because he doesn't follow through. He doesn't live up to his word. He doesn't take care of things. He created more problems than he fixed. He's non-responsive. Yeah, that's what makes him a jerk. Yes. Martin Properties. Good to see you. Does making a biweekly mortgage payment help save on interest? It absolutely does. Something I heard on social media. It absolutely does. But the reason why it does is because of when it's recognized. So you have to be ahead is the first thing. The second thing that you have to do is the reason why paying every 2 weeks is because you make an extra 2 payments. So remember how there's 12 months in a year? You pay 12 mortgage payments. If you pay biweekly, you pay 50 and 52. Yep. So that's how they do it. The other thing you can also do, so you can pay biweekly. Some banks don't really like it, but you can pay biweekly. But the other thing that you can also do is just make an extra 2 payments a year in your payment. So what I do is if depending on what the asset is, when we have expensive debt on a property, we will actually accelerate the payment schedule. When we have cheap debt, we do everything we can to slow it down. So how do we do that? So when we speed things up, we take what the monthly mortgage payment is. Let's say it's $2,000. We know that 2 extra payments is $4,000. We take that $4,000, we divide it by 12, which is, 300 and, call it $333, I think is the exact number, and 33 cents. But call it $350. So we'll do, instead of paying $2,000 a month, we'll pay $2,350 a month. That's actually cut my mortgages from 30-year mortgages down to, we are about to just pay one off. It was one of the beginning properties that I didn't recapitalize because I was going to sell it, but we're just about to pay off one of our mortgages. Yep. It'll be the first mortgage I've ever paid off. I don't know that I'm going to pay it off because the house might sell before I do that, but that's what I should do. That's what I did. And so that's how you get an accelerated payment. Now, what I will tell you is this, again, the way that I judge it is if I have 7% debt, I want to pay that down more aggressively. If I have 3 and 7/8, I do not want to pay that down aggressively. I want to pay my minimum payment every single month, period, end of story, because my money is better being saved to buy my next asset or do my next rehab than it is paying down that mortgage. Yep. Depends on what your goals are, but that is the way it goes. Steven, incredible boot camp. I appreciate that, Steven. I agree. I thought it was amazing. But those are the kind of guests I'm going to put in front of you guys. in the boot camp because I need them to be able to speak freely. They couldn't say 80% of the things that they say, they couldn't say on a live stream. They couldn't. That's why we do it in the way that we do it. That's why we do it in the boot camp. That's why we've got more guests coming, attorneys, trust attorneys, eviction attorneys, banker. We've had two of my brokers on there. But that's who we bring. That's the stuff that we bring. Deconstructing Dreams. Good morning from Reno, Nevada. Lumberjack killing it as per usual. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. I'm always trying to bring my A game for you guys. That's what was so depressing about being so sick, having pneumonia, having an eye infection. That's what made that so depressing. Couldn't do a great job. It was hard. It was hard to even do an average job. Trade better. Do you combine your insurance and taxes with every loan you take out? Is there a better way to have insurance for multiple properties? Give me some more detail on that, Trade Better, only because you're kind of asking two questions. One of them's a very long answer. One of them's a shorter answer. So just give me a little bit more detail on that. I'm happy to answer it for you. Wealth of Rentals. Great point. Lumberjack landlord. I will keep calling and asking. Keep calling and asking, guys. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Squeaky wheel. And the thing is you have to show them why it's important that they have a conversation with you. I believe I'm worth talking to. If you don't believe you're worth talking to, then why would they talk to you? Just true. Sorry. Landlord Odyssey. Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Landlord Odyssey. Greeting, Redion. Redion, was last night's boot camp amazing and awesome? Did you learn anything? Truthfully, you can, honest answer. Tell everybody if you learned anything. Financial Firefighter. What's up, Trade Better? That's right. Robert Farinelli. Matt, I already think I claimed first guest on that show. You did. He's right. Robert Farinelli is going to be the first guest. And he's not afraid to be offended. Prepare. It's going to be aggressive, guys, because I want what's best for you. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to say this sucks and this sucks and this sucks and this is okay and this is okay and this is awesome. And I hope you have more than one awesome thing. But I want to make sure you guys are on the right track because I can tell you the market is shifting. It's not an apocalypse. The market's shifting. I'm still doing deals. I'm still doing winning deals. I'm still selling some of my deals. It's the way the mop flops. We dictate what we're doing in the market. That's how winners win. I've bought at all-time highs. I've bought at all-time lows. I've bought at 8%. I've bought at 375. Yep. Each deal gets treated special because each deal should be special. Julie Anderson, brutal. Matt is my favorite. Julie Anderson, you're one of my favorites. I am brutal. Who else is going to tell you? I need you guys to succeed in a downturn. There's a bunch of posers that are going to get crushed. I know a couple posers that are having a tough time. As nicely as I could say it, I was like, yeah, just keep me posted. If we can help out in any way. Would you be interested in equity? No. No, not if you're the operator. Nope. Should I up my deductible to 20K? I don't tell people to do that. But I only can share with you what I've done. So I've upped my deductibles to 20K. And to a certain degree, that leaves me essentially self-insured. If I have a major slip and fall, right? And let's say they're going to try and sue for $1 million. Well, that's why I have insurance. Am I going to have to come up with 20 grand for a deductible? Yep, I am. If a tornado goes through town, an earthquake, whatever, fill in the blank. I could be out $200,000. I doubt it would take all my houses, but it could take a number of them. Let's say it took 10 of them. Okay, I'm out 200 grand. But in all likelihood, I got $7 million, $6 million worth of new properties for 200 grand and paying my premium. Not a bad deal. So I don't tell people that they have to do that, but I look at ways to better operate my company. And I believe if you're going with $100,000 deductible, that's scary. That's just silly. But a $20,000 deductible, usually the difference between a $2,000 deductible and a $20,000 deductible usually is your insurance goes to half price. So then how many years do you need to win like that? For us, thankfully, we've been very blessed. We have 5 years of doing this hybrid self-insuring. We have 5 years. Thankfully, we're very blessed. We've had no claims. And so if we look at that, even if we got a claim, well, we've saved about $400,000 on our insurance. Kind of a little bit ahead of the game, But even if something happened at one of my properties, it'd be a $20,000 deductible. It wouldn't be the 400. So that's one of the things I would just consider. Robert says, ready for Matt to light me on fire. Well, I hope I don't do that. But there are things I'm going to look at where I'm going to go, what are you doing? But again, just opinion. Just opinion. Martin Properties. Hi, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Have a great day. You too, Martin Properties. Thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. You guys are the best. And you guys are on your first house hack duplex. Josh, I'm so pumped for you and your wife. That's awesome. Congratulations. Again, Deconstructing James. Thanks for that, guys. I appreciate that. Wealth with Rentals. Do your contractors carry workman's comp? Oh yeah. Yep. Other that liability insurance, yeah, it seems like many just have liability insurance. Oh no, they have to provide me when they work for us as a 1099. They have to provide me their insurance. Yep. They have to provide it for me. Yes. Fire and Ice. Most HVAC companies around here are slow and looking for work. Yep. So do you know what I do? It's my turn now. Yep. You've been getting me for 3 or 4 years. Whatever you said I had to pay. You were so busy. So now I set up a time, 1:00. I need you guys to come and look at this. Okay. What happens? I have 3 companies show up at the same time. And you want the business? Win it. Okay. It's fair. That's what I would do. Trade Bidder 20. I am weighing my options on my next purchase. Okay. Does it save money to pay insurance myself rather than through the escrow plan? You don't save anything. Unless your bank is different. The only thing that I would do is I would ask the bank. That's a great question, Trade Bidder. The only thing that I would do is I would just ask the bank, hey, do I get anything? Is there any, but usually an escrow account, that's why they're doing an escrow account. Is it monthly? The money gets put into there and then they just disperse the check. Yep. Let's see. Wealth with Rentals. Robert, be careful what you ask for. Yeah, true story. Is that something you guys would watch? Do you guys care about that stuff? Do you think that would be helpful to you? Because I'm not doing it just to light somebody on fire. I want to know. I know it would probably help that one person, but would it help more than that one person? Because we're always looking to make a multiple person impact. Robert Farinelli, might have to line chimneys anyway because 46-year-old furnace needs replacement, but the new one could be power vented, I guess. So the new one could be power vented or direct vented. It could be either. Yeah. Kim Bishop. Good to see you, Kim Bishop. We're going to light you up here in a nice way. Do you require tenants to have renters insurance? Are you listed as an interested party? And when do you follow up to see if they set it up? So, way to go with the triple question. Good job, Kim. Good to see you. I don't require it purposefully. Yep. I don't require it purposefully because I let them know, hey, renters insurance entirely up to you. Just know if my building lights on fire and it was even my fault, none of your stuff is getting replaced because my insurance coverage doesn't cover any of your personal items. And so I always say, so you don't have to get it, but I would encourage you at least make a phone call, see if your car company, Geico, State Farm, Progressive, any of those, if they have renters insurance. It's usually a few bucks a month to add on. So I would encourage you to get it, but if you choose not to get it, entirely up to you. Yes, I would be listed as the interested party. Absolutely. And when do you follow up to see if they have it? Well, because I don't require it, I don't. Yep, I don't. Because again, the interested party, you're going to have your policy cover if your house burns down. If they set the fire, well, that's crime. That's an arson. Your insurance company is going to cover that, but they're going to basically sue the other person, the other person's insurance company, or the other person, period, to get them to pay. That's how that works. And hi and good morning. But yeah, that's how I do that. Wealth rentals. Boom. Would you bring contractors to bid on your project at the same time? Yep. It seems like some contractors get offended when seeing others show up at the same time. Tough shit. Honestly, tough shit. Too bad. What are you, afraid to compete for the business? You made me compete for your time. You made me compete for your time. How's it any different? Yeah. You think they know? They show up and they see the other van there. What's human nature? What's human nature? Seriously. If they have nothing to do, let's walk through it together. Wealth of rentals, great question. Let's walk through it together. You are the owner of the company, and a lot of HVAC companies are small. They're anywhere from 2 to 20 is huge. But let's say they're 2 to 10. They come out, they bid it. They look at everything. They go, okay. They see the other truck there. What's the first thing? If they're the boss, what do they know? They might look at it and go, why are they there? We have a project we're getting bid on. You know that people we're going to put this out to bid. Like, we need multiple people's quotes. That's absolutely what we do. Yeah, that's what we actually do. So when we go down that path, that's the best option for us, is they see each other. Because if it's the owner, he goes, oh man, the other two companies were there too. Well, if we want this deal, we're going to have to price it aggressively. Mm-hmm. You are. Or it's some estimator. If it's a bigger company, some estimator goes back to his office, and guess what? We become the story. Yeah, we got there. These two other vendors were there, sitting there waiting for us, walking through and looking at the job. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Yep, they were. Well, we're really going to have to sharpen our pencils. Yep, you are. That's absolutely true. So I absolutely make them show up at the same time. And if they don't like it, TFB. KLRB. Everyone can use advice from a professional, even if they are a professional. It's true. Well said. Josh Burdick, you're very welcome. My pleasure. Senya, hi Matt. My property insurance requires tenants to have their own rental insurance. That's probably because of where you invest. I believe you invest in communist New York. Just a joke. That sounds like a New York or a California thing. Mine require no such thing. Mine makes sure that the scope is what it is. And the scope is, it's a fire policy. They will cover the building. When it comes to the building, they're not covering any tenant stuff at all. No, nothing that's owned by the tenant. But yeah, it's worth checking. If you are in a state, make sure you know whether or not your state requires it. If they do in fact require it, then you have to insist and enforce it. But my state doesn't require it, and I only invest in my state. So because they don't require it, I don't require it. But states always, what the state law is, always impacts that's why a local lease is so important. That's why we do leases that are built by attorneys, because we know that they stand up in New Hampshire court. We know that they get refreshed and updated to make sure to account for new rules, because certain things get outlawed, certain things get accepted, and we want to make sure that we have all of that language in there. So they're passing a law here that basically says that the end of the lease is the end of the tenancy. That's big. That's a huge win for pro landlord. Huge win, because that means that somebody can't just decide that they're still going to hang out. Well, I didn't know. No, you're supposed to be out. So we let them know if we're not going to renew. We let them know within 30 days that their lease is the end of their tenancy with us. That's going to be a big win for us, for sure. Kyle Dorn. Let's see it. Got my first Section 8 tenant moving in soon. Not happy with how slow their process is. I 100% agree with you. 1 month so far since submission of the RAFTA. I would assume you mean RAFTA, RFTA. Thankfully, I built that relationship with the executive director like you teach. Now she's doing it. Dude, my man, this is what I'm, yes, this is why I talk about it. Having that relationship, creating that relationship with the right person. And now she's moving that thing along because the frontline person is just moving the stacks of paper on their desk. And just so you know, 1 month, good job. That's fast. Good job. That's fast. Yep. Well done. Good job, Kyle. Good job. Lars Nielsen, Matt, I think that show would be good, but I would encourage you to do that show on various steps in the process, i.e. someone that has 1 rental or 2 rentals and others that have 10 of them. Yeah, I think it's going to differ. But I think that that's where it's going to be valuable is I think that everybody's going to be in a different place. Everybody. Some might have 2 that they own for cash. It's possible. Some might have 10 that they have 90% debt on. Possible. So I think that whether you're 1 or 2, you can still learn something when you're 10 units from someone with 2, and you can learn that much more from somebody with 2 with 10. There are some investors that are really good that I can tell you that are going to be great investors and they have 2. There's other investors that have 10 and they're probably going to end up selling some of them because their process and how they do things is not going to make enough. It's not going to make as much money. Lars Nielsen, also out-of-state investors and in-state investors. Well, it'll cover everything. So we don't want to bucketize them. We want to share what their story is because you never know what you're going to encounter being a landlord. And so what you really have to do is make sure that when you are a landlord, that you hear as many stories as possible. That's what matters the most. HOA Prez, some PHA are good and some are bad. Very true story. Yep. Try to find a good PHA when you do Section 8. Absolutely. The challenge of that is it's almost impossible to judge up front. They want units. They do everything they can to get the unit. Sometimes the toughest part is getting it onboarded, but that's not the PHA. Excuse me. That's not the PHA. That is the or the housing authority. That is not the HA. That is actually their inspector. Can be. It can be their finance director because they don't properly allocate funds to get vouchers done quickly. It could be their executive director because they don't do, meetings often enough to do voucher briefings. It could be the HCV specialists because they're inefficient and ineffective and they don't properly communicate. Could be any of those things. So what I would tell you is as you're getting in the process, know the different levels of the process, know that there's an inspector, know there's an executive director, know that there's a housing choice voucher specialist, know those things, have talked to those people. And then you see what your experience is, see what your experience is. That's very important because I've worked with housing authorities where the executive director is a complete and total moron, but his staff was amazing. So I did business with them. Yep. I've seen ones where the inspector is a total tool bag, but the HCV specialist, amazing. The executive director, pretty good. Seen those too. So that's where you're going to get that experience. So what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't go full bore like, hey, every unit I'm going to do is Section 8. Nope. Would not do it that way. I would do one, see how it goes. And then if it goes really well, then the next one. If it doesn't go very well, why? Was it the tenant? Do they not hold the tenant accountable? All of those sorts of things. But then I also want to experience other housing authorities because that housing authority that I'm working with, guess what? They might not have any vouchers left. Yeah, happens all the time. Fire nice. Most contractors know they are competing up against other companies, whether they show up at the same point or not. True story. Yep. Most expect that you're getting another bid. However, the human psychology of not thinking, but knowing. Yep. No. Have them know that there are other vendors there pricing it out. And what does that mean to them too? If they see a bunch of other vendors all showing up and they're doing their bid, what likelihood do you believe they think that there is in how likely that project is to happen and the timeline for it? Do you think that you're bringing 3 vendors out because you're pricing it for next year? Nope. And you'd be surprised how many people don't bring out multiple vendors. But think of it that way. Think of it that way. You're bringing out even one vendor. Okay. One vendor, you're probably just price shopping and just trying to get a general budget number in there. But I want them to sharpen their pencils right now. I don't want to have to think I need to get to 15 grand when I really only had to get to 11 because of how fast most people save up money. That extra 4 grand could be 3 months, 6 months, or a year and a half. Saving up 4 grand extra. It's a lot of money. So that's where I would want to kind of know. So for me, I like to tell them, hey, this is when I expect to be doing this project. That way they know they're filling their pipeline right away. They're filling their pipeline of work right away, and it's work that they're going to need. They're trying to build up a pipeline of a month to 2 months worth of work. During the everything that happened with the pandemic, everything that happened there, yeah, guess what happened? 6 month backlog, 3 month backlog. Oh, it's a small job. We can get you in 2 months. No, it's not happening anymore. We see it. I'm seeing it, which I love. Jess Meckel, happy Sunday. Great topic today. Good to see you, Jess. When you get back from vacation, send me a calendar invite. We got to catch up. Jess Meckel is a property manager to the stars. You guys know how much I hate property managers, so she must be pretty good if I like her. Had the chance to work with Jess for a short time. Loved it. Big fan. She's dialed in. Master Coach University, thanks for the super chat. Why do you choose gray as a primary paint color? Dirt, wear, pure aesthetics, most commonly accepted color. Same reasons for exterior versus interior. Great questions. Great questions. Hold on, let me highlight it. Boom. There we go. That way I don't lose it. So great question. I like the gray because you can very easily accent it. I believe in contrast. So I want to see the bright white with the gray. It makes it absolutely pop. It has the least adverse reaction to it. I've painted houses beautiful blues. Nope. Painted them beautiful reds. Nope. Nope. White. Nope. Yellow. Hell no. Yellow's ugly. My favorite color on a motorcycle, orange. Can't paint a house orange. Saw a purple one and a pink one. They're in historic neighborhoods. Feel bad for those guys. So yeah, I want that contrast. I want that pop. The flooring, the gray toned flooring hides dirt the best. It hides dirt the best. So that's why I like that stuff. Interior versus exterior. If the two houses next to me are gray, I'm not painting it gray. But if they're white, if they're blue, if there's some other color, gray is calming. Yep. So it's mostly aesthetics when it comes to the flooring. It's aesthetics and it's, cleanliness. Yep. And there's some people on there. In fact, I was in a group this week where people were like, oh, tell the flippers to stop using gray. Hey, moron. They want its broadest appeal. And you know what was really funny? I had all these people telling me I was an idiot. And then you know what? Who showed up? All the landlords. The landlords all showed up and they were like, you guys are idiots because the gray hides dirt. The gray hides dirt even on the outside. The gray is calming. And people very often are coming from a place where it was gray and they like that it's relaxed. Now you can have an accent wall here or there, but you know what else they were like? Oh yeah, the gray laminate flooring, so dumb. Blah, blah, blah. Look at this black floor I did, you moron. Black floor. Enjoy your tenant moving out after 1 year because they're like, yeah, the floor constantly looks dirty. Freaking constantly. We did one house where we did something called Black Mamba Bamboo. Hand scraped. Beautiful. We didn't mind it when we lived there because we vacuumed every day. The tenants, pigs. Look dirty all the time, no matter what. So yeah. Wealth with rentals. Property was built in 1948. Should I expect galvanized plumbing and old electric? Probably. Would it be possible? These systems are still functioning because property is occupied all the time. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Galvanized pipe doesn't just stop working. I mean, you can get a leak in it. It can get a break. It can corrode. That happens, but there's plenty of it still around for, it's coming up on almost 100 years old. They used to use brass. But yeah, just because it has those things doesn't mean it's bad. We have a house that we just redid that's knob and tube. Knob and tube. Knob and tube. You know what we did? Swapped out the panel, cut all the knob and tube, and we reran new wire. That simple. Good job. I think the job ended up costing, it was really inexpensive. I was very happy with the number. I think we came in all in at about $6,000. So very happy. Yep. And now that house no longer has knob and tube. So it will now qualifies for any insurance. It now qualifies for FHA. It now qualifies for VA. These are the things that you have to do. And how did I buy it so inexpensively? I raised that to the broker. And I said, this isn't going to qualify FHA or VA. They're like, what? It's got knob and tube. Live knob and tube. Watch this. Bloop, bloop, bloop. It's the best impression I can do with a little light up pen. But that means a difference, right? So that's where there's a huge difference. So they knew that they couldn't go FHA. They couldn't go VA. In fact, a lot of banks still wouldn't let people buy it. My bank, because I have a relationship, they're like, oh yeah, we don't care. We know you're going to fix it. Yes, I am. And yes, I did. And so we swapped out all that electrical, new outlets, new tamper resistant outlets. Now we're going to go through, we're going to paint it. We're going to put in a new kitchen and I don't know, make $100,000 on that building, probably more. That ended up, we were going to go long-term with it, but I decided not to because we were going to build an ADU out back, but the town seems rather resistant to ADU ideas. So, okay. I don't want to fight them on it. It's not worth it to me. I can still make, instead of making 120, I'll make 100. Okay, fine. I'm not going to fight for the extra $20,000 because it would take 6 months to do it. And that my time is worth more. Excuse me. Sorry. Didn't get to the mute fast enough. Master Coach, your primary color of choice is surrounding properties. What's your primary color of choice if your surrounding properties are gray? It's a good question. I would just, at that point, I actually like the rich blues. Depends on the area. Yep. I actually like the rich blues. It's tough. Usually it depends on what color their gray is. So we have a color gray that we use that's called dolphin gray. It's a light gray. We use that light gray in places where there's not a lot of sunlight. If it's outside and you get a lot of sunlight, what I like is the dark rich grays. And that dark rich gray is a different color than the light gray. There's a lot of people that just use the light gray because that's the most made siding. It's the cheapest. Same with the flooring. Get the richness of it, and your house will look far more elegant than their light gray. Their light gray looks like I bought discounted siding. Your dark gray looks like you special ordered dark gray. So if they're light gray, I go dark gray. If they're dark gray, then I probably look at an actual color. Yep. BuzzTune. I would definitely watch the portfolio review. Like the review you did with Beth a lot. Oh, very cool. Yeah. Yeah, that was something. It was kind of funny. That email got sent and I was like, oh man, it's kind of like what I was thinking of doing. But I kind of announced it to the boot camp first and talked to them about it. Because you got to have people willing to do it. And it's intrusive. It's intrusive. It's aggressive. It is going to be rude. It is going to be, but it's going to give you a plan that, quite frankly, if you paid me to do it, I'd probably charge you $1,000 to do a plan like that. Because it's going to be intense. And so the only reason that I'll do it and not charge people for it is if I can put it out there for free and other people will watch it and gain value from it. That's it. Wealth with rentals. Would you add insulation to a house that needs it, but without demoing all the sheetrock? Yep. I saw a video where they opened multiple holes in sheetrock and pumped insulation in all the walls. Is that good? I haven't seen that stuff actually work exactly the way that it shows on television, where it kind of like the foam, where it then like pushes the pink insulation to the edges. Haven't seen that before. Haven't seen it work that way before. So what I would do is, it depends on what's in the wall. If they say, hey, you've got an open cavity here, then I would consider doing something like that. But I would want to understand how they can prove to me that the void is full. If I don't feel like they can prove that to me, then I would do blow-in hard pack. Blow-in hard pack is where they put a tube in the wall and then they put a masher in the wall. And so they blow it in and they're pushing it down and hard packing it. And usually they'll do that when they port a hole in the bottom and they port a hole at the top. And then they just want, because they don't want to push, you can actually do it where you push the plaster, push the lathe board, push the insulation or push the sheetrock off of the wall because it's pushing, it's filling the void. So that's why they put the port in the bottom and on the top, where usually they pop off a couple pieces of siding, one on the top or a couple rows, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then they shove it in there and then they're blowing in and then they're hard packing it down. That's usually the best way to do that. But yeah, if you're in any sort of a zone, one that needs a ton of air conditioning, one that needs a ton of heat, one that needs both, yeah, you're better off having that. I can tell you that usually a duplex, when I do them, they're about $7,000 to $9,000 to do. Again, your price may vary. Troy Roberts. Hi, Troy Roberts. Hey, Matt, when you do decide to replace cabinets when purchasing new properties or after you've had one for a bit or for a while, when do you decide? Sorry, I read when you decide. When do you decide to replace cabinets when purchasing new properties or after you've had one for a bit in commercial multifamily properties? Great question. I replace, if they're vacant, if the unit's vacant, I swap it out then. Unless I'm trying to do clean, safe, and affordable. We have some units that are clean, safe, and affordable. They are entry-level units. We have other units where it's like, hey, this property deserves a lot better than it is. We need to redo all the units. We need to redo all the electrical. And so we will wait until somebody leaves. And then, like, for example, with this house, waited till they were gone. We redid all the electrical. We will redo the kitchen. And then we'll sand all the flooring because there's a bunch of wood floors in the house. We'll sand all that and then repoly it. It'll be beautiful. And then we'll put LVP in the kitchen. Yep, that's what we'll do. And then the threshold to make it nice. But that's what we'll do. And we'll do that because yes, you evaluate every single one, but the answer is, when do I decide to do that? Depends on what I'm going to do, what the end result is with the property. You know, if I'm like in a really good area, but these have been way under rented because they have, paint on them. The cabinets were painted 30 years ago and they look like, shizzle. Then that's what we do. Yeah. We'll just rip that stuff out. Thanks, man. Hope you start getting back to 100%. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Still got the voice thing for sure. And the coughing. Yeah. The coughing's brutal. So my wife is a nurse. And so she was talking to some other nurses. And they're like, yeah, the rumor is it's like 100-day cough. Oh, I only had it for like 30 days. Dear God. If this is another 60 days of this crap, my entire summer, I will be majorly bummed. And I've done it all. I've done salt water. I've done, you name it, I've done it. Lars Nielsen, Matt, the toilet that you recommend in your boot camp, would you recommend it in your personal residence? Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I didn't change over the ones that were in our house because the people that owned our house spent way too much money. So I kid you not, my toilets are $1,000 toilets. It's ridiculous. I would never spend that much money. If any of them, and so they're very componentized, so they likely will never fail. That's why they spent all that money. However, if they were to fail, yes, I would absolutely put it in a Viper. Yep, a Gerber Viper. I would absolutely do that for sure. What's up, Chester? Good to see you, pal. Good to see you. Yeah, Trey Roberts, exactly right. Yuck. It was gross. So yeah, I would definitely put a Viper in my bathroom. Yep, for sure. They do well with the poly seals, not the wax rings. They do well with the wax rings too, but they do well with the poly seals. They do well with no clogging. Like, we've literally had kid toys shoved down there where they were still functional, and the kid toy was clearly stuck. Like, we had to break it out. What a nightmare that was. Basilio, welcome, Basilio. Good to see you, sir. Greetings from Orlando. Good to have you. Basilio and the land of Ben Mala. I like Ben. It's a good dude. Jesse Mao, have you tried elderberry syrup or cough candies? Yes, I have. Thank you very much for asking. I actually have. Yeah. Yep. Elderberry and apple cider vinegar. Yep. I am very blessed to have my wife who's a nurse. My good friend of ours that is a homeopath, I think is what they call them. Don't shoot me if that's wrong, especially if you're watching. I think they're called a homeopath. And then we have somebody that does Chinese medicine. Amazing. I had some massive reflux and got that amazing person to do to do like this concoction of root. Did it, boiled it, put it into glass every morning and every night, did 4 ounces of it. Within 4 days, I felt like $1 billion. It's awesome. Yeah, good for them. So I've done a lot to even get to this point. Because you got to remember, last night I taught for 3.5 hours, or a little over 3 hours. Today, live stream for 90 minutes, and then we'll have 2 hours or 2.5 hours of class. So I'll do 4 hours today after over 3 hours last night. So that's 7 hours of talking it's 7 hours of talking in about 16 hours. It's a lot on the voice, a lot on the vocal cords. Yeah. Troy Roberts, what do you like to do that is cost effective but good eye appeal for a bathroom? Really good question. Believe it or not, I think the thing that we do probably most often is the toilet. You know, it's less than $300 to swap it out with a new ring. That's something that's pretty cool. If the tub looks dingy, and it's a porcelain tub, I look to resurface it with a real legitimate resurfacing company. So it depends on what you're looking at in the bathroom that's bad. Like if you look in the bathroom, it's got like a 1970s wood vanity, I'd probably look at doing a vanity. Yeah. So it really depends on what the issue is there. But, people saying, oh, well, yeah, my bathroom reno costs $10,000. It can. But I've done tons of bathroom renos, new vanity, new toilet, redone tub, painted the walls, and done flooring for $4,000. Like, that's less than half the price, and I'm going to end up with basically the same result. Wealth Building Journey, landed safely back from Detroit. Good stuff. Great city. Some parts of it are. Dan Gilbert has been working on revitalizing the city by investing billions into it. It's starting to show. Yep. It's also starting to show because for years you could buy houses for $15,000 and $20,000. And so a lot of people would buy those things for $15,000 or $20,000. And then they would put 30 or 40 into them, and then they would sell them for 100 or 110. They got a deal. The new person moving in got a deal. So all you have to do is have your local economy completely collapse. And then it's just a matter of time if somebody starts putting investment in. But yeah, Dan's a great local guy, local investor there for sure. Yes. Yeah. Let me know, Chester. Trey Better, what windows would you recommend? My market is Northeast Ohio, kind of similar to harsh New England winters. So see if you've got a Lansing Building Products in your area. What you trying, or a Martin Brothers. They're more regional. I don't know if they go as far out as Ohio. What you're looking for is the spec, and the spec that you're looking for is low E, argon gas. And you're not buying their bottom line. You're usually not buying their next line up. Usually I'm buying the next line up. Because then the highest line is usually like an acoustic glass. Yeah, where it's like a triple pane. So I want double pane, low E, argon gas, and if I'm going to spend the money, Energy Star is usually, let's say, $275 for the window that I design, but I can get Energy Star Plus for $305. It's $30 difference. Okay, times 20 windows that I never want to do again. Okay, it's $600. Who cares? So I'll spend that little bit extra money. But usually when you go from that 325 to like an acoustic window, now you're talking like 4.25, 4.5. So you're talking an extra 125 times 30. Now you're talking an extra $3,000, $3,500. That's a pass. You're welcome, Trade Better. You're welcome. Troy Roberts. Landlord Rossi. Of course, I always learn in the boot camps. That's what we love. Troy Roberts, I should have said commercial multifamily property when you're upgrading units for bathroom renos. Oh, I gotcha. It depends on how many I'm doing, but usually, um, usually in those units, it's going to be, uh, when you say commercial, do you mean commercial like, um, retail commercial or shop commercial? Or are you talking like commercial because it's a 20 unit building or a 10 unit building? I'll wait for your answer just so I can answer it properly. Trade better, you're welcome. No problem. Denzel, great dude. It's called Mullein Leaf Tincture. Okay. Thanks. Pum, 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 pum. Well, that's interesting. Here, let's try and do it this way. Well, that's rude. I can't even highlight it. Chester, you got my email. Email it to me. Thank you. It works miracles. Yeah, I'll try anything. I'll try anything. Heaven knows I've tried everything. The best thing was like a combination. Yeah, the best thing was a combination of things for sure. So Troy, if you're talking about a larger building, where you're talking about like 10 bathrooms, yeah, the most important thing that I can do, usually the toilets that they have in there are 2.6s or 3.2s. I can cut my water bill by 65% just by going to a Viper 1.2. That's what I would do. Go to a Viper 1.2. I would figure out what I'm going to do. Going to figure out what I'm going to do for flooring. It's usually going to be LVP in a bathroom because it's usually linoleum there. I don't have to rip the linoleum. I can go right over it. And if it's tile, it's still usually a better idea to do that and then just put LVP on top of the tile if the tile's not in good shape. I'm definitely doing a new vanity. Yep. And I like Wayfair for vanities. Yep. Look at their closeout clearance stuff. Just make sure when you're reading it, just make sure it's not particle board, because if it gets wet, that's going to fall apart. And then bathroom, I'm just respraying the tub. Yep. If the tub's not in good shape, I'm respraying the tub. Detroit was great, but I didn't get a chance to meet up with Denzel, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a bummer. He's pretty awesome. Came a long way. Didn't make any excuses. Good for him. Big fan. So awesome. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week. I've got boot camp starting in 7 minutes. So I'm going to go get ready for those guys because we only got a couple classes left. But hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. Hopefully you learned something today from the banking perspective, understanding what's going on in that market and how to effectively do it. If you guys are interested in being a guest on the portfolio audit, you are welcome to. Please send me an email, lumberjacklandlord@gmail.com, lumberjacklandlord@gmail.com, lumberjacklandlord@gmail.com. Frank, hopefully I see you in the boot camp, but no pressure if you guys have other plans. But yeah, check me out. Send me an email. Guys, please make sure you hit like. If you could do me a favor this week, I would really appreciate if you would forward some video, something that we did to somebody. We want to get some additional people in there because I know that our community has made a difference to each of us for doing better projects, making more money. And I want more people to be able to experience that. So do what you can, forward off some links of some videos, send off the one about 50% increase in Section 8 rents. It's unbelievable opportunity for people. And we want to see those programs succeed. If you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. Like, let's help get these programs more successful. If you are diametrically opposed because you don't believe in Section 8, okay, that's fine. But if you aren't and you want to try and help out people that are in that position, this is the way to do it. We want to get more in the community, helping out those that need it. Veterans, disabled vets. I want to see more disabled vets better taken care of. And so I'm going to lead, and we're going to do more units for vets and disabled vets and design them for them to make sure that we get them something that meets them where they are. So hope you guys have you guys just heard the beep. That's actually the reminder coming up for boot camp. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. As I always say, we try and create great content for you. Please make sure you forward, make sure you like, and we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks, everybody. Take care.